Hey guys, I'm Devin de Lima, and as you can tell, I'm not in my usual spot. But that's not important. What's important today is this video, and I'm so excited for you guys to see it. A little bit of backstory. I was reached out to by a very good friend of mine named Adam Sajak, and he wanted me to interview him for his upcoming album, and I was beyond honored and flattered that he chose me to kind of communicate with and to have me ask him these questions. And yeah, I'm just really excited to get into it. Now, for those of you who aren't aware of who Adam is, he is a queer artist. And I use that in air quotes because he even says in the interview that, you know, the definition of a queer artist kind of changes as it needs to. I was just really excited to sit down with someone so interesting and to talk to him and kind of get his viewpoint on some things. He also sent me one of the singles from the album. The album's called Oh Well, and all the links will be below for all that. And Adam is someone who, I guess I should just say it, transitioned. He trusted me to talk to him about that kind of process, but also talk about this amazing album that I've had the honor of already hearing before its release date, and it's really good. Like, seriously guys, like, I don't care what your opinion is on music or whatever, like, go get this album. Again, all the links will be down below. It's really good. I know him well enough to know that he put so much hard work into this. This is his life. I'm just really honored and proud to know someone like him. So I had the honor of listening to an old demo from the record, from pre-transition to now. And I was really curious from 2012, when the demo was originally constructed, to its actual post-production stage. Has the song changed meaning for him lyrically?
Well, that is a loaded question. And actually I had to listen to the song again before I answered it to really see if the meaning has been changing for me. I wrote this song about someone that I was in the situation with at the time, who in a way kind of broke my heart, I guess, because I was just very emotional during that time. And I felt like I kind of latched on to any positive feeling that I felt about someone. But also in a way, like, it helped me realize that I couldn't either. Not yet. I had some work to do with myself. The song back then was the hypothetical, though, about whether or not that first flame of passion could be preserved or kept for a longer period of time. So every time that I listen to it, I can connect it to a time in my life that I was in denial, or a time in my life that I felt I was trying to preserve something through it.
I was also really curious about what you feel like the trans community, how are they viewed in the creative field? Do you feel like they're viewed any differently than other artists or anything like that?
Well, I never actually thought about that too much. Probably because I don't really look at artists that are trans or on the trans spectrum as, you know, particularly trans artists or part of the trans community. I think oftentimes when you do that, when you say, you know, someone is a trans artist or part of the trans community or the trans artistic community or whatever, you're kind of pigeonholing them and kind of maybe even trivializing their identity and their experiences, because by labeling something as a trans identity or like a trans artist, like a trans experience, you're kind of saying that it can't be relatable to anyone other than trans people. And I think that is completely something that I want to step away from.
I know that you recently moved to Boulder, Colorado, and I was really curious as to how that kind of move, because when we met, we both lived in New Jersey. How did that move kind of influence your creative technique and the creative field?
It has a great poets community where I pride myself as primarily a poet. You know, music and poetry go hand in hand for me. My music is my poetry, and I also write strictly page poetry or spoken word poetry on the side as well. The music here, local music, is really great too. I'm sure there's even more stuff going on around in the Denver area. Just I'm still new, don't have much transportation right now, so still got to get around, meet more people, see more things. It's a process.
Adam and I both went to Fairleigh Dickinson University in Madison, New Jersey. He went the whole 4 years. I went for a not full 4 years. And I was wondering how that influenced your lyrics and editing process and things like that.
I was really getting to the core of who I was. It was just really hard with all the other outside circumstances that I found myself in. It definitely changed how I looked at the world. It changed my lyrical style, because due to all the extensive writing and editing that I was doing, I ended up being a lot more concise. I owe a lot to writers and professors like Renee Steinke and David Grant, because they pushed me to be honest in my writing, and I came out to them actually halfway through my college experience, so they had already known me before my transition, and I came out to all of my professors and my peers, and I felt like that was the only sense of acceptance that I had during that time, because my family life and my romantic life at the time were kind of contrary and really harmful for my transition.
Now I understand that this is a very loaded question, but to the best of your abilities, are you able to kind of explain how did your transition influence the album, if at all?
As much as I don't want to say that my transition is my life, which is this album, because I know it's going to be taken completely out of context, be blown out of proportion, and all that, I'm going to say it. It created the muse for each song. It created the context. It created, in some ways, the abusive situations I found myself in. It created the solutions that I had for those abusive situations. And you know what? It's been both negative and positive in my life. I can admit it that my transition has been the worst thing that's ever happened to me, and the best.
If you could have any guest vocalists on this album or any other future release, who would it be and why?
Well, I actually did have a guest vocalist on the album. My lovely girlfriend, Harley Altaville, she sang the harmonies in it and helped me out that way. But if I could have any vocalist tour with me or sing with me on my next release, or do a side project with, or whatever, it'd probably be either Torres's Mackenzie Scott or Sharon Van Etten. I mean, I think they're brilliant vocalists, and I think they're amazing people.
I'm curious about what is your personal definition of a queer artist?
Personal definition of queer is always changing. I guess I would say it's anyone who doesn't fit in the box, or in the right box. It's anyone who doesn't see the box. It's anyone who has destroyed the box, who's deconstructed the box. It's a post-modern person. Anyone who's willing to question everything about themselves and the world, and to be honest about the fact that shit's been really fucked up for really long, and that we're pretty fucked up, and that it's time to stop rolling with it and with the punches, and to do something about it. It's time to contemplate what it means to be human. I'm a queer artist because I don't stop contemplating what it means to be human on this planet. I'm a queer artist because I won't stop talking about change, progress, love, radical acceptance. I'm a queer artist because I don't want someone to look at me and tell me that they're hurting and not care, because I can't relate or understand. I'm a queer artist because I try to understand. I'm a queer artist because at least I listen and acknowledge and am affected by the human experience, which I think in and of itself is pretty queer.
What was it like for you to go from demo song all the way to full production with the same song?
Well, okay, the recording of the demo and the recording of this album, or and even just this version of Fire on this album, they were just completely different experiences. During the demo production of Fire, I was in the middle of the spring semester of my sophomore, junior year, one of those two, probably sophomore, and I was traveling between New Jersey and Santa Barbara at the time. So there were a lot of deadlines, and it was really hard for me to get to the studio at the County College of Morris, CCM in New Jersey, where it was recorded. It was for a project that my sound engineer and really good friend and bassist, keyboardist, and crazy awesome multi-instrumentalist Jack Unversat was working on. This time around, honestly, it was just me and Jack, and we were on two separate sides of the country. I recorded my tracks in a laundry room in Hesperia, California. He was all the way in Bumblefuck, New Jersey, you know, and so it was a completely different process.
And lastly, I do want to ask, you do market yourself as, instead of Adam Sajak, it is AA $. So I am curious as to why AA $.
Literally right before, like, this is 2 weeks ago when I decided what my band name was going to be. I think I'm going to stick with AA $, though, because it has like this kind of cool look to it, especially when you just put like $. It kind of gives it that like experimental feel, and you're kind of confused and you're kind of like interested, I think. And I kind of want to draw all different types of people to it, and so if you're willing to click through the $, like if you don't associate me with Kesha, then I hope you like it, you know? And I think it's kind of me being kind of risky, because some people will probably say like, oh, that $'s really pretentious or whatever, and some people will be like, oh, that $'s really cool. And I kind of want to weed out the people who will think it's pretentious, because I'm not about that.